Hi, today I'll be telling you about all the best shortcuts in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. First, Mario Kart Stadium. There's a shroomless one right here that you can easily get over. Ow, I fell in the grass. There's also one right here by just hopping over the off-road. And then there's this trick where you can pull back on the glider and glide over that entire part of the off-road. Nobody uses this one with a shroom, but it can be easily done. Then we gotta do the gliding shortcut from before. Mario Kart Stadium is one of the courses that has a bunch of shortcuts, but we'll be covering many courses in this video. Then, the next course is Water Park. There's a lot of good shortcuts on this track, and there's one really important one. There's a bunch of long drifting sections on this course where you can easily charge up purple mini turbos. This is the big shortcut. You can just hop over the entire section of off-road. One of the hardest parts of this track is that long drifting section I just went through. You need to make sure you get a purple mini turbo instead of an orange one. Time for the hard shortcut. Those teacups always get in the way. So do these walls. On 200cc on this course, it is really hard to not hit any walls. So I suggest practicing before you do Grand Prix. Time for the hard one. Even though this track doesn't have much off-road, there's quite a bit in the shortcut areas. The next track is Toad Harbor. There's a shroomless shortcut right at the beginning that is pretty easy to pull off. You just hop over this little piece of off-road. Then right here you can charge up a purple mini turbo if you practice a lot. Then you need to make sure you get the top part of this shortcut. You don't need any mushrooms to pull off, and it cuts off a lot of the track. Next, you drift along this whole section to charge up a purple mini turbo. Be very careful to not hit any of the trains, because they oftentimes get in your way. Then, right at the end, there's a shroom shortcut that cuts off a large piece of off-road. Then the shroomless shortcut from before. And then you can just go off this to go right back on the track, if you practice enough. Then we gotta get this upper path again, that is way faster than the other one. That is a very hard path to pull off, because it may not seem like it, but the road is very narrow in that part. Then you use a shroom to go off that piece of off-road. The upper path that I'm on right now is really hard to perfect because there's no guardrails on either side of it. There is these side paths, but they don't save very much time, especially in time trials. And then the final stretch to the finish line. The next track is Yoshi's Circuit. There's lots of really good shortcuts on this course, but the best one is the waterfall shortcut. On 200cc, it can be done shroomless, but it cannot on 150. Then, there's a shroomless shortcut where you can jump over this entire section of off-road. It's really easy and saves a lot of time. By the way, if you didn't know, this track is shaped like Yoshi, which I think is really cool. There's lots of tight corners on this course, so that means it is very hard to time trial this and get a good time. If you don't go flying over the off-road, you have to do what I just did and do a bunch of hops to get over it. I just got a 41-second lap. Hey, I know that number. Please do avoid the piranhas when you're in that section though, because they will try to eat you every single time you go past them. And with that, Yoshi's Circuit is done. The next track is Wario's Gold Mine. There's a bunch of small outcroppings where you can jump over small amounts of the track on this course. There's not many places where you can use mushrooms though, so I suggest just using them at the start and finish line. When you enter this tunnel, the bats will fly at you, so you have to go around them. And do not let them hit you, or else you will lose all of your speed. Also, if you hit these cars, they will give you small speed boosts, which is pretty helpful. This is the big shortcut of the track. You can hop over that whole piece of the track. It doesn't save much time, but it's a massive shortcut. There's another one of them right here, where you can cut off this corner. Like I said, the bats will fly at you, which is very annoying. By the way, everyone thinks that this is a shortcut right here, but it is very hard to control inside, and it doesn't save very much time. By the way, the world record for Wario's Gold Mine was just set a few days ago by a player named F. Ow. No one likes falling off the course. And then the final stretch to the finish line. The next course is Ice Ice Outpost. There's plenty of shroomless shortcuts on this course, but they are all very easy to mess up with the bad Kart combos that most of you guys use. The first one of them is right here. This is by far the hardest one on the track, even though it's pretty easy. When you take that shortcut, you need to be sure to not hit the roof, or else Lakitu will put you on the other course. There's lots of these boost towers which will give you tiny speed boosts if you hit them. The third shroomless shortcut is right here. It is also very hard to get, and I suggest perfecting it in time trials before you do it in Grand Prix. There's no really shroom cuts on this track, so you can just use your mushrooms anywhere. I missed the second shortcut, oh no. The world is gonna end. By the way, the yellow path has the taller glider panel, so you can just push down on the stick and you will go flying down. The end shortcut is very hard to perfect, like I said, so it might take you several hours to get it right in time trials. I have to get the shortcut. I just have to get it. Yay. And this is the final stretch to the finish line. Please get the shortcut. Yes! The next course is Sherbetland. I'm only doing this track because someone in my class recommended it. There's a huge shroom shortcut right at the beginning that cuts off a lot of the track. By the way, watch out for the Shy Guy ice skaters, because if you hit them, well, you can figure that out for yourself. I really like this course because of the northern lights, and they're just so shiny. Everyone likes them. That's really the only reason people actually like this track. Also, watch out for the ice sculptures of those snowman themes, whatever they are, because they will slow you down a lot if you hit them. There's a lot of shroom shortcuts on this track, so I'll try to get all of them. By the way, if you see that boost panel right there, it's pretty hard to get to because you have to go through water, and it's not worth getting at all. Like I said, these ice sculptures will slow you down a lot if you hit them, like I just did. Also, you need to make sure to trick off of that because while it may be a bit out of your way, it saves quite a bit of time. Only about like 5 milliseconds, but still. In time trials, every little bit counts.
To trick, you have to press R or L.
Yes, like he said, you need to press the drift button to do a trick. It is one of the best features in the game because it allows you to get small boosts. And there's usually dozens of places where you can do it on each track. And with that, that is Sherbetland. Next up is Music Park. My friend is actually trying to lower the time on this course, but isn't very successful yet. Or Or he might never be, to be completely honest. Speaking of how he's trying to lower times on courses, I am working on Super Bowl Subway and I am only 8 seconds off from the world record. So, please leave comments if you think I'm going to beat the world record. By the way, when you go into this section, you need to make sure you don't get the glider because gliders, believe it or not, slow you down. Most people think they're really fast, but they're one of the slowest ways in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to travel. I didn't tell you, but last lap, there's this shroomless shortcut that I took in this piranha section. Be sure to not go in the white spots because that's where the piranhas have range and can attack you from. I really like Music Kart because whenever you go on the panels or keyboards, they make sound when you go on them, which I think is super fun. By the way, these music notes bounce every 4 seconds, allowing a trick to be performed, which is really cool and also saves a bit of time. This is a shroom cut right here, which you can usually go off of the tambourine, but it's pretty hard to perfect, and I suggest you practice in time trials before Grand Prix. Next up, the shroomless shortcut. This one is really easy, but make sure the off-road doesn't take all your speed. And you have to do a trick before, or else the off-road will just kill your speed. This is a partly shroomless shortcut that you can use a mushroom right there to complete. That is Music Kart. Next up is Yoshi Valley. There's not many shroomless shortcuts on this track, but as it turns out, the entire track is a shortcut. You need to take the bridge path first lap, but not on Grand Prix because all the players will take the bridge path on the first lap because it is the fastest by far. If you couldn't tell, I'm on 200cc because there's a cool shortcut over here where you can hop and trick off of this ramp. I forgot the trick. My bad. There isn't many places where you can use mushrooms on this track, but I like using them in just random places because it's always fun when things are random. If you don't agree with me, you're wrong. You can get really good drifts on these tight corners of Yoshi Valley. Next up, the shroomless cut. That was a flawless run of the shortcut. This is one of my favorite courses in the game because there's just so many places where you can cut down on time. I am also trying to lower the world record on this course, and I'm like 20 seconds off from the world record. So wish me luck. On 200cc, you need to make sure you control all of your drifts because you can easily run into these walls. And that is Yoshi Valley. Next up is Dry Desert. Dry Desert is pretty much one massive shortcut, just like Yoshi Valley. For instance, right here, you can use 2 mushrooms, actually 3, to cut off that entire section of track. 3 mushrooms is a lot, but if you think about it, it's pretty easy to get in a Grand Prix. Especially if you're playing worldwide races. The world record on this course is really good, so obviously I can't do nearly as good. You can also trick off of these columns of air to give you a bit of speed. By the way, most people don't like this course because, well, you go around in a circle 3 times and it's is pretty boring. Also, if you're running the off-road, you can lose all of your speed, which is really bad in time trials. I'm going to attempt to do a shroom shortcut right there. I think it turned out pretty good. But your drifts are so uncontrollable in these areas, you can just go flying off into the off-road. The best part about this course is probably the pyramids. And that's the only good part of this course. This course is almost so boring, I almost decided not to include it in the video. Like the second lap, I will attempt to get the shroom shortcut this lap. Oh, I ran into the desert pokey. Well, that just kills that plan. Speaking of desert pokey, please do be sure to avoid the desert pokies, because if you do, well, you saw what happened. I talked about the pyramids the first laps, but I didn't talk about the great sphinxes that they have around here too, such as the one right in front of me. Nintendo did a pretty good job designing this course besides the layout. And the final race is DK Jungle. There's a lot of good shortcuts on this track, so I'll try to cover every single one. By the way, just recently, the world record on this course was lowered to under 2 minutes on 150cc with a clever trick called Gensor Glider. I will not be using Gensor Glider because it is pretty hard to get. You can easily get that shroom shortcut by just hopping over the off-road. I like to call this room the Golden Banana Room for obvious reasons. Look what's ahead. I mean, what more can a monkey want? Next up, there's another shroom shortcut. Not really a shortcut, but it saves time. But it is really hard to get because you could sometimes fall off. I was talking about the world record being under 2 minutes. Just think about that. I'm already at 1 minute and I'm on my second lap. By the way, the Gensor Glider that the world record guy used was in the area with the boost cameras. It is performed by going off the glider and then tricking off the ramp at high speed. Like I said, that is a very hard shortcut to get. By the way, on 200cc, people have attempted to get the Gensor Glider, but people just haven't been able to because of the extra speed, and they've just been flying off the track, which is not helpful. Like, not at all. I'm approaching the Golden Banana Room. Also, this track has many tight corners, so I advise using inside drift bikes. I fell off the course again! Please like and subscribe. We are a channel that is trying to grow, and with that, thank you for watching.